Tell HLN. There you see our experts are ready. Gene Casares, and we welcome in defense attorney John Manuelian. John, your thoughts here. I mean, is Samuels unraveling or not?
Well, here's the thing. I think that the prosecutor Martinez is doing an excellent job of showing that Samuels is trying to put a square peg into a round hole. Look, all of his tests are extremely subjective. They're based on lies. And the house of cards are going to fall down on this expert. And on top of all that, the expert is saying really silly things like the word speculating. As an expert, you never want to use that word. That's pretty much discrediting everything that you're saying. So I'm very surprised that he doesn't have control over his words, and he's not more on point with Martinez.
John, when you heard that, John, when you heard him say speculating and then Martinez followed, what were your thoughts as an attorney to see that unfold?
Well, I don't know if I had thoughts. My reaction was, and I was wondering what the defense was thinking when that happened. And I can't believe he said that. Look, you take your experts as you find them. And obviously, this expert was the only expert that they could find. Remember, Mike, this guy testified to transient global amnesia. Only 3 or 8 people have that in the entire country out of like 100,000 people that were surveyed or analyzed. So this guy's really reaching here, trying to save Jodi. But as a defense attorney, that's all you could do. You do the best of what you got, and that's all the defense has at this point.
Right. Gene, weigh in on that as far as an expert using the word speculating, just a wide open door for Juan Martinez to attack.
Well, to go along with that, he had testimony today. You know, those were my words. I think one of the headlines today is that Jodi Arias told this expert that Travis pulled on her sweater. And then she remembered the gun, her sweater. But then he tempered it by saying, well, those were my words. Pulled on her clothing. We're in a court of law. Those things are very important. Devil's in the details. I mean, sweater? That's critically important. Was she wearing a sweater in Phoenix, Arizona in June?
Shouldn't they link up? I mean, whether it's the tugging on a sweater or not, shouldn't that story jibe with Jodi Arias's, or whether or not she was tied up by the ankles or not?
Yeah, that's the big picture, Mike, right? The inconsistency, because she testified and she never mentioned a sweater. She never met a pulling, a tagging of the sweater that triggered her to remember the gun. Yes. Okay,
another big point. And again, forgive the subject matter here, but it's pertinent to the case. And this is the way we understand it. The Richard Samuels had written his report based on what he believed that Jodi Arias had only had anal intercourse with Travis Alexander. He comes to find out after the fact, after the report is written, no, she's done that with others, but does not add that into the report. Juan Martinez follows up later by saying, why not? You have some kind of relationship. You're starting to like her. Let's listen to that exchange.
I was writing the addendum specifically on the new written material that was provided to me by the court.
You chose to conceal it or ignore it? What did you do?
I ignored it.
But isn't a person who is conducting a full evaluation on something like this, isn't he duty-bound? Aren't you duty-bound to at least acknowledge it?
I didn't see it as being relevant to my addendum. Obviously, we're dealing with it here in court.
But it was relevant to your original report, wasn't it?
It was relevant, yes.
And so if it's relevant to your original report and not the addendum, you still feel that there is no need to mention it, right?
It was my judgment call not to include it.
And your judgment call, is it because you had formed some sort of relationship with the defendant such that you were kind of, you know, not giving the full picture because you liked her, or what's going on here?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative. And in favor. Sustained.
All right, John, again, I don't want to beat up on Richard Samuels, but, you know, if I'm the 13th juror watching this, your common sense would say if you wrote about a topic and you find out new information, you include it. Pretty basic, right?
It is basic, but that's why his testimony is being discredited. It's extremely subjective. He is inputting the inputs and the data in the way he wants to see it and the way it helps Jodi's case. And obviously, that's his job to do it. Remember, this guy's a hired gun. He's being paid probably a lot of money to represent Jodi and to save Jodi's life. So subjective information, subjective testimony, and that's why Juan Martinez is asking the jury to rethink the shrink.
Right. Okay. Nice turn of the phrase there. Is that normal? Real quick, John. I mean, do hired guns, as you put it, do that, where they find out information and leave it out because it's going to make the client, their side that they're hired for, look bad or not as good?
Look, I think Dr. Samuels believes Jodi. I think he feels sympathy for her. So that's the problem. He's knee-deep into the world of Jodi and is not thinking objectively. He's thinking subjectively, which is why Martinez is attacking all the data and attacking all the information that he was given.
Okay. Again, he's going to be back on the stand. More against Juan Martinez coming up. HLN, the only place where you get every moment of this murder trial. And we want to hear your thoughts, your questions, as we've taken all this in. It's been a fiery exchange between the two. Call up 1-877-TEL-HLN. Welcome back. You're watching HLN News Now. HLN, the only place where you get every moment of the Jodi Arias murder trial. And we have watched some fireworks in that courtroom as Juan Martinez has gone at it with the defense expert, Dr. Richard Samuels. But as promised, we're taking your calls. 1-877-TEL-HLN's the number. Wendy's with us in Alabama. Hey, Wendy, what's your comment or question? Hey.
Well, I was just wondering, had anybody coached Jodi on what she should remember or what she didn't, like what the different kinds of amnesias were and what things she could remember and what she couldn't? Because when she was answering her questions, she was having to filter through things in her mind to decide what she should say and what she shouldn't.
You think Dr. Samuels had something to do with that, Wendy?
Well, he might have. Inadvertently, like if he was explaining, like if she was asking questions about certain things, he might have said, well, this is this amnesia and this is this one, and you can get this by this, because she probably asked all kinds of questions.
No, and I know a lot of folks have called in on that and posted on Facebook as well. John, help us out with this one. How does Jodi Arias form her story? Does she get help from a Dr. Samuels? Is it coached with her attorneys? I mean, how's that all go down?
Well, typically, when I'm representing a client, I ask the client to tell me the truth, and I don't like the word coach. It has a negative connotation.
Right.
What I do is I tell them to tell me what they know, and then I tell them how to say it, how to look at the jury, what to say, what not to say, when to say it, and so forth. Coaching has this implication that you're telling the person how to lie, and that's completely unethical and shouldn't be allowed by the lawyers in this case. But, of course, they do go over their testimony, her testimony, and they tell her, what to avoid, how to answer certain questions. And Dr. Samuels' opinion obviously has played a part in Jodi's testimony.
Okay. But coaching is what you even explained is coaching in performance, how to say it, right? I mean, or maybe suggestions, because you're right, there could be a negative connotation with the coaching.
Yeah, and again, the most important thing is to make sure that your client tells the story succinctly, clearly, and the most important part, Mike, without any inconsistencies.
There you go.
And obviously, in this case, that is a big problem, not only with Jodi, but there's a problem with also Dr. Samuels' testimony. First, he says it's a clinical judgment, but before that, he says it's speculation. There are a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of flaws in both of their testimonies, and at this point, in my opinion, the defense is not really winning. Martinez has got a leg up. Remember, Martinez is now going to put on his experts, which are going to refute what Dr. Samuels said.
Excellent point. And to your, what did Juan Martinez say? Another simple point. If there's inconsistencies, shouldn't that make you pause, Dr. Samuels? And, basically then he got into his own, whether his judgment call or not. Not sure that's going to work with the jury. Let's get another call in. Luis, who do we have? Susie's with us in Ohio. Hey, Susie, your comment or question?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Mike, I found a discrepancy in Jodi's story when she was talking about crouching near the shower, taking pictures, and Travis was standing in the shower when she dropped the camera, and supposedly he stepped out of the shower and body slammed her. However, the last picture of him taken, according to the sequence on the camera, was the close-up shot of his face in the shower with the water dripping off his face, and it was taken at eye level. If she were crouching and he was standing, how come that picture was taken at eye level?
Okay, great question, Susie. We're going to do a little bit of research because you're right. She's crouching, he's sitting. We're going to get to the bottom of that. John's going to help us out as well. We'll take more of your calls. The number 1-877-TEL-HLN. Keep it right here. More testimony coming up within the hour with Dr. Samuels going at it with Juan Martinez. Welcome back. You're watching HLN News Now. Again, HLN, where you get every moment of the Jodi Arias murder trial. And Richard Samuels, the defense expert, is going to be back on the stand. I'm sure more fireworks with the prosecutor, Juan Martinez. That happening shortly. But in the meantime, we're getting your comments and questions. Many of you posting on our Facebook page, HLNTV.com. Janice posting this. The real shame of this is that the doctor has probably just lost his credibility and his career. Another of Jodi Arias's victims. Wow. Pretty harsh there. John Manuelian, real quick, is he taking that kind of a beating where credibility is now in question?
Well, I think that Martinez is painting a picture of a guy who's getting paid to save her life, and that he'll say anything to save her life. And, you know, the combination of showing that he's giving gifts to her, or that one gift, and he's, you know, the input from the lies that Jodi gave, which caused different or incorrect results, he's just basically showing that this guy's a hack. And, you know, it's coming across, Mike. It's coming across that way because this guy's data is inconclusive and it's very subjective. And I guarantee you that Martinez is going to put on better expert witnesses, which ultimately, at the end of the day, is going to help the prosecution put the hammer down on Jodi.
And I'm sure the defense is going to try and rehabilitate Samuels here as they redirect and try and clarify why he's given certain tests that Martinez just pointed out shouldn't even be given in a court case. So that's I believe that's to come as well. Again, we're taking a call. Susie's question, by the way, it's our understanding, Susie, is that Jodi Arias was crouched down and Travis was seated. John Manuelian, is that the way you understand it as those final pictures were being taken?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how the final pictures were taken, and I believe that that's going to be established through expert testimony. According to Jodi's testimony, Travis apparently got upset when the camera dropped, and remember, Jodi said that the camera bounced. So we don't know if it came off of the bounce or what the sequence events were in the photos, but certainly it could have been done by Jodi while she was crouched next to him. And I'm sure that Martinez is going to, you know, present something on the rebuttal argument showing that Jodi did do that. But again, that remains to be seen at this point.
Let's get another call in. Terry's with us, New York. Hey, Terry, your comment or question?
Hi, Mike.
Hey.
I'm wondering how Jodi got her attorneys, whether they were court-appointed public defenders or if they took this case pro bono for the publicity, and also who's paying for her experts.
Okay, from our understanding, these are private attorneys paid with taxpayer dollars. John, anything to add to that?
Yeah, typically in every state, what happens is on these types of cases where it's serious death penalty cases, they either go to the public defender's office or they go to what's called a bar panel attorney. They're private attorneys that are especially death penalty qualified. And yes, the caller is right, or actually, I'm sorry, Mike, you're right. The state of Arizona, the taxpayers pay for that, including Dr. Samuels' testimony.
All right, and we're watching the video, John, as you're talking, just to let everybody know. This was during a break. It's Jodi Arias conferring with a member of her defense team, very animated, very talkative. That doesn't surprise me. You, John? I mean, Jodi Arias, whether she's on the stand or not, is going to have her say.
Absolutely. And you know what? I tell all of my clients to be very, very hands-on. Remember, she knows more than the attorneys know, so she's supposed to give insight and help the attorneys assist her in her jury trial.
Got it. Hey, real quick before we let you go, John, what's your highlight moment from what we've heard so far? Was it Samuels admitting to speculating?
No, actually, it wasn't the speculation that was really upsetting me. It was the fact that this transient global amnesia thing. You know, Martinez is going to hammer that on closing, how he took this crazy idea that you could actually get amnesia from sex.
Right.
And you know, a lot of the jurors, common sense,
right,
they're going to be looking at Samuels and saying there's no way.
Or hot or cold water. So many commented on Facebook. All right, we're continuing our coverage here on HLN. Vinny Politan next, Making It in America, coming up.